And I wish that was where it ended, but it didn't. Because for me, that was just the beginning. The next few days felt normal on the surface. Classes continued, people acted the same, everything looked like a regular timeline moving forward. But something inside me couldn't settle. Because once you start noticing patterns, you don't just stop. I kept expecting things to repeat. Small moments, conversations, even random sounds, but they didn't. Not exactly. Daniel, on the other hand, was different too. At first, I thought he would be relieved. Later, like someone who had finally escaped something impossible. And in some ways, he was. He smiled more, he slept longer, he stopped watching the clock every few minutes like he used to. But there was still something off about him, something unfinished. A week later, we were sitting in the apartment, doing nothing special, just talking, and I asked him the question I hadn't asked yet. Why that day? He stayed quiet for a long time, longer than usual, then said something that didn't make sense at first, because that's the day I failed. I asked him what he meant, and he just shook his head and said, I thought breaking the loop would fix everything. That sentence stuck with me, because it sounded like there was more to it than just being stuck, like the loop wasn't random. That night, I couldn't sleep again, not because of fear this time, but because of curiosity, and I started thinking about everything that had happened, every small change we made, every decision we tested, and one thing kept coming back to me, the way he always knew what was going to happen, not just events, but outcomes. The next morning, something small happened that changed everything again. I dropped my keys, not a big deal, just a normal moment, but right before they hit the ground, I said, careful, and the second the word left my mouth, my stomach dropped, because I hadn't planned to say it. I didn't think about it, it just came out, exactly the same way Daniel had said it that first day. I froze, picked up the keys slowly, and for the first time, I felt it. Not a full loop, not a reset, but a pattern, like my brain had already seen that moment before. I tried to ignore it, told myself it was just coincidence. Maybe I was overthinking after everything that happened, but then it happened again. Later that day, I checked my phone, and without thinking said, the professor's going to cancel. And a minute later, we got the email. My heart started racing because now it wasn't just Daniel anymore. That night, I went to him and told him everything, expecting him to say it was nothing, that I was just imagining things, but instead, he just stared at me in a way that made everything worse and said, it doesn't end when the loop breaks. I asked him what that meant, and he said, you think I went through all of that alone? That's when it hit me in a way I wasn't ready for. The loop didn't just change him, it changed everything connected to it, including me. Over the next few days, it got stronger. Not full predictions, not perfect knowledge, but flashes, moments where I knew what someone was about to say, what was about to happen, like my brain was slightly ahead of time, just by a second or two. And Daniel told me that's how it started for him too. Small, barely noticeable, until it wasn't. I asked him if it was going to happen again, if the loop would come back, and he didn't give me a clear answer, just said, I don't know, but if it does, you'll remember faster than I did. And that's when I realized the scariest part of all of this wasn't the loop itself, it was the idea that maybe it never really ended, that maybe we didn't escape it, we just moved to a different version of it, one where we were aware, one where the patterns weren't obvious yet, but still there, waiting. Because now, every time something small repeats, every time I get that feeling like I've already seen a moment before it happens, I don't brush it off anymore, I pay attention, and sometimes I catch myself saying things before they happen, just like he did.